The so-called Twitter files, which were written by a group of independent journalists given access to internal company documents, offer a behind-the-scenes glimpse at how the federal government shaped the flow of information on one of the world's largest social media platforms. Whether or not the Twitter files contain information that was surprising to those already aware of the thousands of takedown requests the company receives every month from law enforcement agencies and the courts, or of the immense challenges of content moderation, is beside the point. The Twitter files have brought important new information to light. They show that the company stifled debate over important policy issues by shadow banning certain accounts for no good reason and then misleading the public about it. They show that Twitter was routinely strong-armed by the White House and the FBI into complying with frivolous takedown requests, and they provide evidence that the intelligence community likely influenced the decision to suppress the Hunter Biden laptop story in the lead-up to the 2020 election.
I mean, to be totally frank, almost every conspiracy theory that people had about Twitter turned out to be true. Is there a conspiracy theory about Twitter that didn't turn out to be true?
Conspiracy theorists are often sloppy with the facts and exaggerate what really happened. But the information brought to light by the Twitter files should be alarming to anyone who cares about free speech and a free society. The government meddling in similar ways on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Google search? How can we prevent the internet from turning into a centralized apparatus through which state actors can shape and censor public debate? Here are three major takeaways from the Twitter files. 1. Twitter distorted the conversation and misled the public. Twitter had a system of whitelists and blacklists that allowed its algorithms and human moderators to turn engagement dials up and down based on what a user said. It used this power to limit the ability of certain groups and individuals to reach an audience, including conservative commentator Dan Bongino, Stanford economist and medical school professor Jay Bhattacharya, mRNA vaccine critic Alex Berenson, and the libs of TikTok. When asked if Twitter shadow bans, then co-founder and CEO Jack Dorsey misled Congress.
Social media is being rigged to censor conservatives. Is that true of Twitter?
No.
Twitter shadow banning prominent Republicans. Is that true?
No.
Companies sought to cover by tap dancing around the meaning of the word. In a 2018 blog post, Twitter's trust and safety team wrote, "We do not shadow ban. You are always able to see the tweets from accounts you follow, although you may have to do more work to find them, like go directly to their profile." Needless to say, making tweets so hard to find that digging through someone's profile is the only way to unearth them is what's commonly known as shadow banning, or as Twitter employees termed it with an Orwellian flair, visibility filtering. The Twitter files show that company staff became increasingly comfortable using these tools to manage the flow of information and political discourse around the 2020 election, regularly deploying filters to limit the visibility of Trump's tweets and many others pertaining to election results in the weeks preceding the January 6th riot and the decision to evict the president from the platform. Yes, Twitter is a private company, and it has every right to label the tweets of Harvard epidemiologist Martin Kulldorff as misleading when he tweets statements such as, "Thinking that everyone must be vaccinated is as scientifically flawed as thinking that nobody should." But Twitter is still worthy of our condemnation. Dr. Bhattacharya was shadow banned despite being a respected epidemiologist from a prestigious university, and many of his warnings during the pandemic turned out to be correct. And you can acknowledge serious problems with the work of former New York Times reporter Alex Berenson, who, for instance, badly misinterpreted data to infer a spike in vaccine-caused mortality, while still believing it's preferable to have a public airing of controversial and deeply flawed arguments. A better way to deal with speech you disagree with is to respond to it, as Derek Thompson attempted to do in The Atlantic when he called Berenson the pandemic's wrongest man. Ironically, Twitter raised Berenson's profile by allowing him to inhabit the role of the oppressed truth seeker. 2. The government is secretly policing speech. The most troubling thing about the Berenson deplatforming isn't Twitter's decision per se, but whether